Hello everyone and welcome back to another FPL video. So in today's video I'm going to be going through the best midfielder for every price point. So starting off, I've picked Josh King coming in at 4.5 mil. Honestly, I wouldn't pick any 4.5 mil midfielder unless, you're going for a Haaland draft. I'm really not a fan of them, and I think I would rather go Salah and someone like Mark Yu. But Josh King, I think he's the best out of the 4.5s. He did start Fulham's last game of pre-season, and he does look very good. Obviously, you can see there his numbers do look very good. However, obviously, he didn't play many games, so they are going to look good. But yeah, I think he could definitely be a breakthrough player this season. He could definitely be one to look for the future, but I really just don't know if I'd want to get him in and rely on him now. I think I would rather pick Salah on a striker. But if you're going for a Haaland draft and you need to free up some money in the midfield, definitely a good shout for 4.5 mil. Moving on to the £5 million players. Now, ever since I've seen Everton's first game, it's become clear who my favourite one out of these two is. And I think I would say my favourite is Dewsbury Hall by quite a mile. I really like him at 5 mil. The only issue is with Grealish coming in now, he might have to sit back a bit more. But I still just think he's a better pick than Xhaka. I really do. I think he could be a great pick. And at 5 million, is it worth just taking a punt on him? Because I definitely think it could be. And I think he is a great player. We all know that. I think with Grealish, Iliman, McNeil, all of these players in front of him, I think there is chances he's going to start racking up the assists. And if he does drop back, that just means his DEFCON might go up. So I think I'd definitely rather him over Xhaka. But then again, Xhaka, obviously, it's a bit of a boring pick. You're just sort of hoping on his DEFCON numbers and maybe getting a goal. I don't think he offers too much, but at 5 mil, it's a good bench player. It's good rotation. Moving on to 5.5 now. Over the past few days, there's someone who's emerged that's not on here, but I'd already made this graphic. However, Reinders from Manchester City, I would definitely have him and Elliot Anderson now over Adingra. However, I think Adingra could still be a great option. It's more of an attacking upside option. Reinders and Anderson are probably going to end up being more of the defensive DEFCON sort of players. But I mean, what we saw from Reinders in that first pre-season game when he literally played in the 10, if that happens for 5.5 million, he could be an absolute steal. I just don't think it's a really long-term pick, and I think minute security isn't great with him. And I also think while Rodri's out, he's probably going to end up playing a more defensive position. So again, it could be a DEFCON player. It could be a player that consistently gets you sort of 4 points every few games and maybe a couple of assists or goals as well. So I think he's definitely a good shout, but I think I'm going to personally wait, and I would definitely look at Elliot Anderson in this price bracket because I think, obviously his DEFCON numbers are great. Forest have brilliant games, and he might get you a goal or an assist, and hopefully with people leaving the squad, he should get some set pieces this season. Moving on to 6 million. Again, it's not really a price point that I like, to be honest, but Youri Tielemans again, he could be a shout. If he gets penalties, definitely a good player. I think. I mean, as I said, there's not really many 6 million players that have caught my eye that I go, oh, you know what, I would want them. I think instead of going for a 6 million midfielder, I would rather just drop down to a 5.5 and get someone like an Anderson. But that's the thing. If Tielemans goes and gets pens, it completely changes the squad really, because that's a cheap enabler on penalties with good DEFCON numbers. But I think the penalties in Villa will probably go to Ollie Watkins, but you never know. It could be Tielemans, but yeah, no, I don't think he'll get them. So it does seem a bit of a wasted 6 million to me. As I said, I still think he is the best 6 million player there. There's an argument for someone like Minter, but again, minute security just isn't there for me. So if you're gonna spend 6 million on a midfielder, I would recommend dropping down to someone like Anderson or Reinders. But if you want to spend 6 mil, Tielemans is probably your man. Moving on to the 6.5 mil, this is currently a debate that's going on in my personal team, Iliman Ndiaye or Ismaila Sarr. Now, Iliman Ndiaye should have the penalties, but his expected numbers are not as good at all. And when you look at Sarr, with Eze potentially leaving the team, you could argue it makes him weaker, but you could also argue it might give him a bigger role, and he might end up getting more of the assists and goals himself. And I think long term, Sarr's probably a better pick, even without the penalties, because he seems to be, getting a lot of big chances. I know he was an absolute troll last season. I understand that, and he trolled me a lot, as I've probably mentioned in videos recently. But yeah, I think for 6.5 mil, I think it's more on your gut feeling. Who do you think's going to do better out of these two? Because I really am stuck. But the thing is, looking at the fixtures, would it be easier to go with Iliman Ndiaye and then maybe on week 4 when Sarr's got Sunderland, then make the move? But I don't know. I'm gonna see in my personal draft. But yeah, I think it could be worth having a look at one of these because I think they are great enablers for 6.5 mil. Just speaking on another 6.5 mil player, Mohamed Kudus. What I would say about him is, to be totally honest, I would avoid. Just because they're looking at Savio, they've got Brennan Johnson, they've got Tell, they've got, they are pretty stacked on wingers. So to be honest, I would leave it because I think Kudus, to be totally honest, I think Kudus could be the new Nkunku this season. I think he could be the player that a lot of people are picking going into game week 1. Maybe he might genuinely get benched off the back. I think he'll start game week 1. And then the thing is, he could be one of them that starts game week 1, he gets a goal or two, loads of people bring him in and gets benched game week 2. You just can't tell. So I'd stay away from Kudus for now. Right, at 7 million, it is currently Morgan Rogers. However, he is injured. So I would avoid him for game week 1. But this is overall, I think Morgan Rogers is the best 7 million asset by quite a bit. But at the time of recording, with his injury, I would just, if you need a 7 million one, I would just pick Semenyo. But I think when he's back and fully fit, he's going to be a great FPL asset. But for now, I would probably just leave it. It's the safe bet. 7.5 mil, again, a bit has changed since this because Eze is linked to Arsenal, but this is on the basis he isn't going to Arsenal. I think he's a great player. I think Eze will be an absolute great FPL asset again. The only issue with Eze is he does tend to start out quite slow. If Eze comes out strong, then and he stays at Palace, then I think he'd be a great asset. But on the basis that Eze is going to leave Palace, if you need a 7.5 mil, maybe look at a Cody Gakpo. I think that's your best bet, really. But to be honest, I don't really like any of them if it's not Eze, if he's not staying. 8.5 million, I actually skipped 8 million because I genuinely don't like any of them. I don't think any of them are worth the money, really. But at 8.5, I think Florian Wirtz is the standout one by a mile. I think he does clear Marmoush. Personally, I could be proved wrong there, and I think Marmoush is a great player, but I'm just thinking minutes. I'm thinking minute security. I don't know if I can trust Marmoush. But as a midfielder, we saw how good he was at the end of last season. Now he's been reclassified as a midfielder. I think he could be great, but to be honest, I'd stick safe with Wirtz. Right, so obviously I've skipped through Palmer, Saka, Fernandes because there's only one in each price bracket, so you can't rank them. But what I would say on Mo Salah is keep calm and don't panic. After that Community Shield loss and obviously the penalty miss, I think a lot of people have been sort of panic taking him out of their drafts. And you know, I did that. I did that myself the other day. I took him out because I thought, oh well, that's it then. He's going to be terrible. I still don't believe he's going to be what he was this season. But at the same time, Bournemouth at home, at Anfield. He likes a goal at Anfield. Bournemouth have lost literally their whole defence. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster if you don't own him. I think the safe bet is start with Salah. If it goes wrong, you can go to Haaland. That way, you're not losing too much rank, because if you start with Haaland, it goes wrong. You're losing a lot more than starting with Salah. Anyways, that is it for the video now. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. I will see you for my team selection video on the day of the deadline on Friday. Unfortunately, I can't get a deadline stream out this week. I will start trying to implement them in throughout the season, but for now, it's going to have to be just a final team selection. I will try and get that out near to the deadline so it can be as accurate as possible. But yeah, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.